Good day there, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Officially Devin channel news for summer 2016. The, for some reason, seasonal news videos in which I talk about what's going on in the channel and things behind the scenes, what's going to happen in the future, that sort of thing. And we'll be featuring some potentially relevant background footage as well. Probably mostly not relevant, so it doesn't matter. It's the words that are important for this one, so you don't actually have to look at it. So, what sort of news do we have this season? First, we need to look at what we're going to do for the next series that's going to replace Messiah Tales. So, Messiah Tales is over, and thank you so much for everyone watching that all the way through, if you did. It's been so long making that series that it just feels weird to not be making it. But in a couple of days, it will be the first Monday where I'm not making it. I normally made it on a Monday and a Tuesday, so I'm going to hit that Monday, and I'm going to be like, now what am I supposed to do? So we need to make a decision. Now, there isn't really a consensus about what people would like to see. There's suggestions from all over the place, all kinds of things. Something about fascist New Zealanders coming up the other day. I thought that was pretty good. But anyway, the only vague sort of consensus that I've managed to see is that we should do something in Warhammer. And I guess that makes sense. It just came out. People know that it exists. It's a thing. So probably should do something in Warhammer. The thing is, my vague opinion on Warhammer is that it isn't suitable right now for doing sort of the main serious NLP, because it's in a deliberate state of incompleteness, if you will, because they intend to keep adding to it. So as it is now, there's stuff just missing. Like, as you may have famously heard, there are only 5 factions set over an area that should have many more. So, since those are going to be added in, I think it would be more fun to make a big, grand series in it once that stuff is actually there, and all the content that they originally envisioned is actually going to show up, since that'll mean more likely that interesting things will happen in the campaign, and more likely to create an interesting story. So, that's my thought on that, but it doesn't mean we can't do something in Warhammer sooner than that, because what I think we could do is something a little less serious, something a little shorter, and something that takes advantage of the Warriors of Chaos faction, who, like, for them, there isn't really a story. It doesn't matter who their enemies are, it doesn't matter that the other factions aren't really in the game, because they're just doing their own thing. Playing as Warriors of Chaos is a very, very simplified approach at playing the game. It's almost a different game entirely. Like, you basically have one army, and you just go around auto-resolving everything and burning the world down. It's something like that, and I thought we could make something out of this. What I was specifically thinking was that I would play as Sigvald, the glorious, blonde, lover of death, and lover of love, as he goes around the world spreading his death and spreading his love in equal measure, and that he would be doing the commentary on the series, and it would basically be a bit of a laugh, bit of a joke, something in between my Tinny of Truth series and one of my regular series, because I think there could be some interesting gameplay coming out of it, so there might be some actual gameplay commentary in there. A bit more than Tinny of Truth has gameplay commentary in it, it's mainly just bullshit. So I think that could work out. Haven't really thought too much about it, but that's what I'm thinking of doing, unless everyone really says otherwise. I might just whip that out. It would only be a short thing, and hopefully it'll just be good. That's what I'm thinking. I'll find a way to make that good. And I guess on the same topic, I should mention, I'd also like to finish Tinny of Truth. You might have noticed I haven't made an episode for ages, and that's basically because I've been working on so many other things, and Tinny of Truth has always just made in the gaps between things. So now I could use this opportunity to finish it off, because I think just a couple of episodes would do it. So I could smash that out, get to some kind of ending point in Tinny of Truth, finish that, and then start this Warriors of Chaos Glory series, which is going to be along the same lines. Another thing I was thinking of doing, possibly at the same time as this Warhammer series, is also in Warhammer, making a little video essay, which would be something like Warhammer if Devin had been in charge. And my idea for that was to go through what I thought the game was going to be like, and basically discuss what it did turn out to be like versus what I thought they were going to do with various factors that were being brought in as a result of using the Warhammer license, and comparing those, and most likely attempting to advertise that how I would have done it would have been far superior, of course. It's basically because although I was exposed to some of the pre-release hype and even saw the game 6 months before release, and it was pretty much identical to how it is now, I had these ideas about how it was going to be. Like, I imagined they were going to go in a really different direction with a lot of the stuff in the game. And because of that hype I put on myself, I was quite disappointed when I actually played it, and it played so similar to Attila, like a simplified version of Attila, basically. And it was the battles that were sort of different because of the new unit variety, but then there were only very few battles actually taking place in the campaign just because of how it had been set up. So I don't know. There was something about it, and I thought, couldn't you have made it... people say the factions are, quote, totally different. I can test that. But I think it would have been quite easy to make them totally different in a nice lore-friendly way that might have changed up the gameplay as well. So maybe we'll talk about that, since I clearly have some thoughts on the topic, because I'm almost going off to talk about it now. So maybe I'll write something down about that, and then say it to you across some footage of Warhammer. That'll be good, won't it? Won't it? Won't it? And anyway... Now, let's move on and talk about what I would do if I wasn't going to do Warhammer. I probably am, but the thing to remember is that Sinews of War is also going to end very soon. Probably won't make it to episode 40. So that means we need another idea alongside doing something in Warhammer as another series replacement. And that's where the more serious ideas are going to be brought in. And those ideas are all sourced from my magic list of NLP ideas, which I've mentioned in previous videos. And in fact, in a previous news video, I think I went through it in detail about all the things that were on the list. And there's new things on it now ever since then, so it's just getting bigger and bigger. So I'm basically looking over the list and need to pick something out. And I thought I'd just let you know what my preferences are. So there's everything from every game, not just Total War, on the list, all sorts of ideas, and here are the ones I'm most interested in. So if it was totally up to me, here's what I do, and what you can do, which would be useful to me, is shout at me in the comments if you think this is a terrible idea to stop me from doing it, because this is what I want to do. So the first idea, the top of the list actually, oh, by the way, this is excluding things from both Empire and Rome 2, so assuming I don't do anything from those two since I just played them, like assuming we're going to go and play something else, that's the other premise to me picking something out of the list. So anyway, the thing I've picked out as my first choice is in Attila. In fact, I already talked about this in a previous news video, I'm pretty sure. In Attila, the mod where you play as Roman Britain, a separatist faction. So it's basically like the regular Western Roman Empire, but you just have Britain and you're at war with the Western Roman Empire, which makes it extra hard. And I was thinking of combining that with another mod, which gives you old school Roman style units like legionaries with the old style equipment and the larger shields and the heavy armor and things like that. So what we could do is basically make a Roman revival NLP where the governor of Britain has said, you know what, we're not going to go down with this empire. I'm going to separate off, and I'm going to sort of take my fascination with what made Rome great in the past and try and mould something like that. So it would probably involve converting Britain to Roman paganism. I think it might start very Latin Christian because of the Western Roman Empire. And using this mod, which gives you the ability to very difficultly recruit the old school Roman units, which are really powerful. I think it costs absolutely tons of money and food to get the facilities you need to actually do this, but once you have them, you can construct legionaries, which are just like super armoured, powerful units like old legionaries, and will do very well in the world of Attila, where there's so many units that just aren't equipped to the same degree. So that should overcome the fact that playing as Roman Britain on its own is basically impossible because you're so weak and you're at war with everyone around you to begin with. And usually you lose a couple of settlements in the first turn and you only start with 6 and you don't have any armies, so it's very difficult. But that's my idea. That I just feel like that's an interesting concept. It's sort of got its own story. It writes itself, basically. So that was my first choice for an idea. The other idea I quite like the idea I like the idea of, ideally, to speak only in terms of ideas now, is to go into Age of Charlemagne and do that Dane's narrative Let's Play that I threatened by doing the preview video. If you don't remember that, maybe this will jog your memory. You know what's wrong with Skyrim these days? Everyone's obsessed with death. The one with that voice in it. I could do something with that. The only problem with that is that it would almost definitely just be entirely based on the TV show Vikings, in that is the only source of my knowledge. Oh, and The Last Kingdom, that TV show. Those are the only sources of my knowledge about what's happening in that time period. But that doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It can just be derivative. Yay! So that could be interesting. It could be interesting, although I'm less inspired to do that than the other Attila Roman Britain campaign. Both of those would, funnily enough, probably take place in Britain, because as the Danes, the game's just like, right, go and invade Britain. You get all this money if you go and do it, so you better actually do it. Anyway, so that's that. So now let's move away and look at a couple of my other honourable mentions from the list, which I could also be convinced to do. I was looking at Third Age, the Medieval 2 mod, and I think there's some really interesting campaigns you could whip out of that. My main sort of bugbear about Medieval 2 is it's quite hard to film in, because you have more limited camera controls, and you can't use battle replay, so in general the footage you get is worse. So I think it wouldn't be quite as interesting to watch. But, you know, it's unique. There isn't another game that's like the Third Age mod for Medieval 2, so it has the market cornered. So anyway, I think there could be some interesting things whipped out in the Lord of the Rings universe, although it would be strange to do that now that Warhammer's came out, because those two universes are so similar. I feel like that would be, I don't know, people would be like, why aren't you playing Warhammer? If you're going to play like a Dwarfs campaign in Lord of the Rings, that's basically identical to the Dwarfs campaign in Warhammer. The factions are very similar, have the same units, the same look, the same words. It's sort of like, yeah, I don't know if that's a problem. Probably isn't. Anyway, that's an honourable mention. Other honourable mentions are Europa Universalis 4, I believe that's how it's pronounced, or Crusader Kings 2. I think I'd prefer EU4 to CK2, because in CK2 it's a little bit more of, like, it's a database. Like, there's very little that happens visually. So in terms of thinking about making a video series and what the footage is going to be, what I'm going to put on the screen while I'm talking, there's not very much. And what is there is very tiny fonts and numbers in the corner saying, here's your relationship with this other person. See, there's that tiny 43 in that little box there. That represents your relationship. Like, it's not very visually told what's happening in the campaign, especially because most of the characters aren't shown at all, that you just see the faces in the corner, which represents that these people exist, but the most of the screen is just a map with nothing on it. So because of that, I'm sort of a little bit reticent to make a video series on it. It's almost more suitable to make like a fake history podcast. So to like play through it and use the events that happen to make some sort of fake historical tale and then tell that as a podcast. Because when you play the game, like, basically nothing happens on the screen to represent it. Like, a battle is just two figures punching each other in the face, and all the politics doesn't have any animation or like nothing happens to represent it. And most of the events are just a pop-up saying, this happened, great, like, you don't see anything. So because of that, but because it also is very complicated, the mechanics, and lots of interesting things do happen, they just happen in your imagination. So yeah, it could be suitable for making an audio-only narrative Let's Play. So that could be an exciting development, couldn't it? And EU4 is basically the same. EU4 is a tiny bit more like things are happening on the screen, because it's more focused on military conflicts, and that is shown. Well, it's shown in that you see a blob move across the map and then swing its sword to represent it fighting. So it's shown a little bit more, at least. So anyway, something there. Let's look at some more mentions. This is going on long enough, but you've got all day, don't you? I know I do. Something in sci-fi strategy could be interesting. I think I mentioned this before, maybe doing some space strategy games just to mix it up from the usual ancient warfare historic strategy games. Don't know what specifically, as there aren't any that I particularly like in that genre. I've played some Endless Space, that's a possible candidate. Sins of a Solar Empire, possible candidate. On a similar vein, I could do something in Civilization. Civilization is something where I thought, how could you make an NLP of that? Because it's insane. It's so abstract and gamey. Like, your leader is immortal, okay, and they always wear the same clothes throughout the whole campaign, and there aren't any other characters apart from that. So I think the way to do that sort of thing would be to play through basically the whole Civ campaign, film it, and then write like a documentary. So using that footage that sort of tells the story of the civilization. So it could even be the case that there would only be one episode in the NLP that just representing the whole thing, telling the story of the rise, fall, or victory of the Roman Empire as it conquers Japan, which is what happened in a recent Civ game I played. And then I ultimately lost that goddamn campaign because I built the UN, the Ottomans show up, start a vote for who rules the world. Everyone voted for the Ottomans when I thought they'd vote for me, and I lost the bloody campaign. Anyway, there's another idea. It's not going to happen next. Most likely what's going to happen next is something in Total War, because that's what you like, and I'm fine with that. Let's do it. Let's do some more Total War. My secret NLP dream, which is like my NLP challenge mode, is to play the game X3. It might actually be called X3 Terran Conflict or X3 Rebirth, X3... Yeah, the thing that's not the most recent game in the X series, where you fly around in space and it's just like do whatever you want. You can explore, kill things, start businesses, that sort of thing. Because it's such a slow and quite boring game, my kind of dream is to find a way to make that not boring and make a show out of it. I don't know how that would work. My vague idea was like the player character is trying to start a radio show or something, so that there could be an excuse to have all this random filler content in between the long, boring sections of the game where literally nothing happens. Like, it's a sort of ambient relaxation game where it's like, right, you need to fly to this star system, set the autopilot to do it for you, and now watch as you slowly fly there for the next 5 minutes. So that's my dream, to make a boring experience an engaging experience. But, you know, we don't need to do that, or we don't ever need to do that, because that's just me ranting. I forgot about this, but I'm adding this after the fact, that one other option is for me to just continue doing Narraco's Treasure. I say continue, do it more. So use the time I would have spent doing either the Warhammer thing or the replacement for Sinews of War to make more Narraco's Treasure and make it more regularly, since it takes a significant amount more time than one of those sorts of videos to make. So that's an option. I don't know if that's a good idea. It would mean fewer videos coming out across the whole channel, but more in that series. I don't know. Definitely an option I'm thinking about, and potentially if I can work out a way to make Warhammer with less time per week than I spent making Massalia Tales, then I could spend more time per week on Narraco's Treasure, and that would somehow all gloss out and mean more of that series. But we'll see. We'll see about that. So I think that's the end of this section. We've gone on far too long. Oh my god, look how long we've gone on for. So let's quickly move on and just finish off the news video. The next thing I wanted to say was thank you so much to all viewers. To you, if you viewed this far in the video of this video, you're already a heroic viewer. So thanks for any other heroic acts of viewing you've made on other Officially Devin videos, and for all the comments you're leaving, etc. Subscribing, and to all the patrons, all the Patreon patrons who have donated so much money now, and it's super helping, because I am basically doing this full time for no good reason, and the fact that I'm getting donations makes there be a little bit of a good reason, so it's more justified in spending all this time. I'm still not actually making money. This is run at a loss, but it's run at less of a loss, so it's more like, oh, maybe I should spend more time on this and less time doing something that might actually benefit society, that sort of thing. So anyway, that's that. One thing I wanted to say about comments is just to sort of notify you in my own voice, if I can, that I think I don't see a certain number of comments. Like, I think comments have been passing me by, because I keep sort of noticing comments from the past, and I never saw that comment, this person asked me a question, I never realised that. I think what's basically happening is I don't see comments that are replies, is the easiest way to put it. The way I look at comments is in YouTube's community comment system, which you get when you have a channel, and it basically only shows you the most recent comments that are like first comments, like the first post in a thread of comments. You don't see the ones below it. Well, you can see them, but it's harder. It doesn't put them at the top of your list, it puts them back down near where the OP comment was. So a reply to a comment that was made a day ago basically won't be on the screen unless I scroll really far down through the big list. And because of that, here's your public service announcement. If you actually want me to answer your comment, you have a question or something, it's a very good idea to make it a new comment rather than like find a comment I've made and reply to it, because I almost definitely will not see your... In fact, I will definitely not see your comment. There's probably a million comments out there I haven't seen because of that. The only way I could see it is if I bothered to check my notifications in Google+, which I absolutely do not, because there are literally thousands of them and I'm not going to look at it. And the same thing for my emails. I get thousands of emails from YouTube, from comments and YouTube network spam, and I don't really go through and read them all. So the main way I see comments is to look at this comment feed, and that shows me new comments mostly. So there you go. That's why, not that I necessarily need to read every comment, but I like to. So I'll try my best. I do try to read the replies in that feed as well, because it's not that hard to actually just scroll down and look at them, is it? But sometimes I don't want to spend too much time doing comments, because I want to actually be making videos. Like when I'm feeling productive, when I'm at the machine doing the stuff, I want to be producing something, so I don't want to spend too much time doing all the YouTube meta, which is why I basically don't advertise the channel at all or bother with good tags and descriptions, that sort of thing, which I probably should be doing. Okay, last thing for the news videos, little topic called hot seats and holidays. So I just wanted to say, you may have noticed, anyone who happened to be following those hot seats that I was in, that many of them have imploded, and I'm here to confirm that that is the case. So first we've got Rise of Three Kingdoms. That just kind of stopped. I'm pretty sure people just can't be bothered to play it. I think I was the only person who was kind of playing it and being like, ooh, what's going to happen? I think everyone else was like, don't care. Might be because I'm obsessed with the setting of that mod, so it just inherently seems more interesting to me. So that basically just stopped. Just sort of decided not to play it anymore. Then there's Call of Warhammer. That stopped because a player left and the replacement player couldn't install the mod because it's ridiculously hard to make it work. It's both hard to install the mod, and then once you do install it, that one's virtually impossible to play because it's designed to be impossible, like in terms of its difficulty curve. So yeah, because of that, basically they failed to install it, and that destroyed everyone's morale or something, and we didn't bother trying to get it to work for this person or finding a different person for whom it might work. So that just sort of stopped. In fact, the threat was that the hot seat would be restarted. But I guess that hasn't happened yet. That was quite a while ago that threat was levelled. So maybe that hot seat will come back in some form, but it would start again, which would be very demoralising for all involved. Anyway, and then there was that crazy Denmark hot seat, which was actually going quite well for me. I quite liked that Denmark hot seat, but I think everyone else couldn't be bothered to play it. Another case of that. There's a nice episode, I think it might be the last one I recorded, which hasn't come out yet, about that. In fact, on that topic, so there's loads of episodes for all those hot seats that haven't come out because of various rules, like you have to wait 3 turns before you release a video, so episode 3 comes out after episode 6 has just been played, that sort of thing. So that means there is a backlog of videos for all of those hot seats that, if the hot seats have stopped, will now never be seen. But I thought what I could use those for is to fill a space, because I'll be away for like 10 days at some point during next month, because I'm going to visit someone in Scotland. So I could just throw them out there, just get all those videos out so that it wasn't a total waste of time to make them. That could be something. So anyone who wanted to see how far those hot seats eventually got, I'll put those out, and there you have it. And you know, the main reason to put them out is just so YouTube doesn't think I've killed my channel. The advice to YouTubers is basically never go on holiday. Do not stop making videos because of how the system internally works. You better keep being active. Either you need to be a gigantic channel where you have so many subscribers that you will get views without needing to be in anyone's related videos or anything like that. But if you're not that big and you need to be in related videos and you need YouTube to advertise for you, then you better play those algorithms. You better release videos constantly. Release something every day, you bastards. Get us more views. And that's basically YouTube's opinion on the matter. So that will help with that, right? If I release, like, during this period I'm away, that's going to delay everything. So if I spam these crappy live Let's Plays, this will solve my problem. So that's that. And that's got to be all the news. Is it all the news? I think it's all the news. Can't think of anything else. Don't think there is anything else. The carrots in my allotment are starting to grow. So in the autumn news, I might be able to tell you whether they survived and whether I was able to harvest some carrots. Pretty sure I'm going to forget to tell you about that, but do leave a comment to ask in the autumn news video if you want to know what the exciting real-life NLP of Devin trying to grow carrots eventually yielded. That's the end of the news. Alright, see ya!